Hello everyone, Tina here. Welcome to Card Making Fundamentals and welcome back to lesson 2 of our Frosty Fun Classroom. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Are you ready to get your fingers inky? We are going to jump in and get started. I have my lesson kit I already took out. This is lesson kit number 2. I'm going to put this off to the side and we're going to go over what we need for today's classroom. You're going to need a marker, a pink one, and also your gray markers. We're going to go with a C1 and a C3. So a gray marker, a pink marker, and then we're also going to need black ink. I'm bringing in my Memento ink. You're going to need a tape runner. You're going to need a craft pick and scissors, of course. You can bring back our acrylic block, and of course you're going to need something to clean off your stamp with. I have some baby wipes with me today, but if you have a stamp chamois, I also have my cleaner. You can break that out. We may need a little bit of glue, so I'm going to include that in our list today. And I think we are good. We're good to go. Now, I already have a little container filled with water. So if you want to start by grabbing your little triangle dish and put a little bit of water in there, instead of doing stamping first today, we're going to jump in and do our ink smooshing. This gives me a little bit more time for it to dry while we work on the rest of our card. So I'm putting everything to the side, and you're going to need to bring in your craft mat. And I have my gloves that I saved from our last Friday's project. I have my little paper towel that I'm going to use. My gloves, I'm going to try and get away with not using my gloves today. We'll see how inky we get. So we're going to need a craft mat, and I do have those sheets of printer paper that we used from our last project. We're going to put these underneath our craft mat, and then we're going to need our ink, of course. I put mine in that Ziploc baggie. We're going to take this out, set it on our printer paper, and then in our lesson kit, you'll want to open it up. I already did that. There are some dome-shaped pieces. You have one that has the little pedestal on the bottom. We want the one that's just a archway, a dome shape. It's the thicker cardstock also. So take this, and then we're going to go ahead and begin with our ink smooshing. I'm just going to add 1 drop of our watercolor here. Just 1, I think, is all we need. And then using our dropper that I've included, bring in your little triangle with water. Pick up a little bit of that water with your dropper, and then I would say add 3 or 4 drops to your watercolor. I'm going to don't dump this out yet because we're going to need this a little bit more. Now we have our color added. We're going to take our paintbrush. We have 2 paintbrushes. One of them we used with white acrylic paint. The darker one I used with my watercolor. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that cover down the barrel so I don't lose it. And then we're going to do the same thing we did with our first project. We're going to do a little bit of smearing. A little bit of spreading, I should say. Just spread it out however you want. And then don't dip this in your water. We need that water clear. We'll just put that on our napkin here. And then what we're going to do is take our archway. This is where tweezers would come in handy. I didn't mention that we may need them, but if you have tweezers, you can break them out, and then you can hold this. The bottom, for the most part, is going to be covered. So you're just more concerned about adding some color to the top of our panel. We'll just tap this in here and lift this up. Now I think I need a little bit more color on the very top, so I'm going to add a little more water. Take my paintbrush and spread it out a little bit more. This is actually going to dilute it too. And then we're going to dip it once more. We'll just tap that down there. And I really kind of like the way this looks. I love the two-tone. If you want to add more, you can go for it, like so. And again, I'm not worried about the bottom because that is where we're going to put our snowbank. I'm going to go ahead and put my tweezers off to the side, and I'm going to use my little towel here to wipe off my craft mat. Again, this may stain your craft mat, but it's not too bad. It just has a little bit of a blue tint, but if you want to take that blue tint off, again, you can always use your magic eraser. That's all the ink we're going to use, so I'm going to put this back in my Ziploc baggie, and then we're going to bring in our white acrylic paint, and we're going to add a little bit to our craft mat. And then we'll bring back our water here. I'm going to switch out the brushes, and I didn't rinse this off yet. I'm going to add some water to the acrylic paint here. Just dilute it a little bit. And then we'll take our panel or our archway, and then we're going to do some splattering. I love my splattering. And you can go as light or as heavy as you want. With acrylic paint, it does take a little bit of time to dry, so keep that in mind with how much you add. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my brush that we used. And I'm going to keep out this, put this off to the side to dry. And then we're going to bring in our acetate. Here. We're going to do a little, before we clean up our mess, in our lesson kit, well, we can take this one. We're going to take this shape, and we're going to add this to our acetate, and we're going to trim around it real fast. Just using our scissors. And you don't need to go around the archway. If you just want to stick your scissors underneath and go straight down, you can. Like that. And then, since we trimmed around to the edge of this, what we're going to do is trim it once more along the edge. This way, it will fit on the inside of our window. Just take a little bit off. You can see there. Just a little bit off the edges. We're going to put our acetate on our craft mat. If you want to wipe it off first, you can do that. We have the splatter on there. And then we're going to take our coarse sponge. And we can use the acrylic paint that's left on here, and we're going to add a little bit more to it. And then we're going to do a little tapping. And then we're going to do the same thing we did with our first project. We're going to add some snow all around the edges here. Nice thing about this one is you can go as heavy or as light as you want, because our sentiment's not going to be behind it. Now I'm just lightly tapping it up and down on my acetate to create a snowy look. And I'm not worried about the bottom edge, because again, that's going to be covered. And I think once you're happy, if you want to even put a piece of black cardstock or darker colored cardstock underneath, you can do that too. Let's see. Like so. That way you can kind of see where you're tapping. but I'm just making like an upside down U shape on here. And this takes no time at all to dry. So I'm going to set this up here with my panel. And then we're going to clean up our craft desk. I'm going to rinse off my paintbrush in here. And just clean it off and put that barrel back on there. And I'll do the same with my blue brush here. I'll just use that water. We'll put this back. And just so it doesn't dry out, I'm going to bring this to the sink. I'll bring my craft mat. Well, we don't really need to bring your craft mat to your sink. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to put these in my little tray that I'm using for our supplies. Now we're going to do some stamping. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And in our kit, we have some white cardstock. Let's grab that. And we are going to stamp. We're going to need our white cardstock, and also we're going to need our archway. We're going to stamp our sentiment down here. So grab that also. With my black ink and an acrylic block, we need to take out our little polar bear that's in our stamp set. He's such a cute little polar bear. I'm going to stamp with black ink on this white cardstock. I always like to stamp in the corner because if I need more room to stamp another image, I can, which is nice. I'm going to use a baby wipe to clean off my polar bear here. And in our sentiment, we have "You Warm My," and it has a little heart, which is so cute. I'm going to take that sentiment, put it on an acrylic block, and we'll ink up this and stamp this underneath the straight edge of our archway. I want a little bit of room because down here is where we're going to put a strip of pattern paper. So we'll ink this up and stamp it just below the archway. And we will evenly space it here. I'm going to put away my ink and clean off my sentiment. We'll put this back. To color our polar bear, it's so easy. Let's zoom in. We're going to take our gray markers. These are the markers again. I'm going to take first my darker gray marker, and what I like to do is just go around where I want the shading on my polar bear. And I'm going to go around the leg portion and where his arms are, like so. So basically we're going around this side, going around the legs, maybe a little bit on this leg too, kind of creating a shadow look. And then I'll take my lighter gray, and then we're going to go over the darker, kind of blending the two together. Like so. And then we need to rosy up the cheeks with the dark pink marker. This is an RV55, but we're going to add some little pink cheeks here. And this might be a little too dark, and that's okay. I can bring in my light gray marker and kind of blend it out a little bit. I should have used my lighter pink marker, but that's okay. Rosy cheeks are nice. And then I'll take that same pink marker and we're going to color in our heart here. And our coloring is done. I'm going to take my scissors We're gonna, if you have the coordinating die set, we want to cut out our little polar bear, and you can save this for more coloring if you want. But leaving a little bit of a border, we're just gonna fussy cut around this cute little bear. Pretty easy because the cut lines are not zigzagged or anything. Wonderful. We're going to take our frame, I'm going to zoom out a little so I have a little bit more room here. And then I'll flip this around. We're going to add adhesive around the bottom portion of the archway using our tape runner. And then in our lesson kit here, we have 2 small snowbanks. We're going to take the shorter one and we're going to add this. We want the large angled edge here on the right side. I'm just going to tack it down here so it looks like this. I'm going to flip it around and then we're going to add some adhesive, and then we're going to go around. If you want to use glue for this, you can, but sometimes glue can get messy around that acetate, so tape runner will work fine. I'm going to take my acetate, and with the snowy side on the top of it, or if you even want to flip it around to make it smooth, you can. But I like the texture that it adds, so we're going to put our snowy archway on the very back, like so. Okay, and then, so we're going to put this off to the side over here, and then, you know, we can go ahead and flip this around right now and add some foam tape. We just won't remove the release paper just yet. Sometimes I find going around the archway, if you remove the release paper on the top and bottom, it's easier. So I guess we have to remove the release paper. We'll just go around that archway. And if you have to stop and go, grab another piece. And I suggest putting it up there as close as you can, so it's a seamless transition. And then we'll use our scissors and trim it off right before you get to here. And we'll do the same. And I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to go along the curved line of our snowbank. Like so. I have a little bit of a gap, but I think I can get away with not adding another one. And then this one, we are going to put one strip on the very bottom. And I'm going to add just one more here. Kind of filling it in, okay? I have a little extra piece I'm going to save because you never know when that will come in handy. I'm going to put this off to the side and we're going to work on with our pattern paper. We're going to take our zigzag stripes. This is going to go directly on our card base, so we'll grab that and make sure it opens the right way. Let's adhere this. This is going to leave me a little bit of a border, so you want to make sure it's centered. Then we'll take our next size smaller pattern paper. This is going to go right in the middle. So a little bit of those stripes are peeking out. Let's go ahead and open this up and take all of our embellishments out. And Is our background just about dry? I have to use my heat gun to finish off the drying. It's still a little bit saturated. So if you have a hair dryer or a heat gun, we can go ahead and dry this. Or if you want to take a pause and have a little cup of coffee until this dries, you can do that too. Okay, I finished drying it. So we're good to go. We're going to continue on. We're going to take our snowbank. This is going to go on the very bottom of this archway. And I'm just going to use my tape runner for this. Put it at the very bottom. After this is adhered, we have a couple of trees. And what we're going to do is do a little tucking. I'm going to add some adhesive behind here. We're going to take our tall skinny one first, add some adhesive, and then this is going to go to the right of our little scene here. Now you have to remember that our frame is about 1/4 inch thick. It's going to go around here, so you want to scoot this over a little bit. And then we'll take our shorter tree and put it right next to it. So we have some snowy trees in our background. Okay, this is going to go on this panel here. So let's adhere it. And you can heavily add your tape runner over this because you can kind of flatten it. With any kind of watercolor background, it does warp a little bit. We'll add that to our background here. After that's adhered, we can take our frame that we put foam adhesive behind, and then the areas that we didn't remove the release paper, we can go ahead and do that. This is where a craft pick comes in handy to help remove that release paper. Okay, and now we get to fill it. So I'm going to fill on some white cardstock. I'm going to scoot this over. We're going to take our confetti. I'm going to get smart and open it on scratch paper. And then we get to fill. Now this one you can kind of fill generously because there's nothing obstructing it. So we can add a lot of sparkle if you want. I think that's a good amount. Put this off to the side. And if some of your confetti gets stuck on your foam, you want to try and remove it because you want to make sure that this seals really good. You don't want none of that confetti leaking out. Okay, we'll take our background. This is going to flip it around. This is going to line up perfectly with this. And then we just tack it down right on top here. Press those edges really good. And then we can flip it around. And we have a little winter wonderland here. Super cute. I love all that sparkle. Okay, I'm going to clean up my glitter with my little vacuum. I guess I have to bring it out here. Okay. We're going to take our shaker, take our string that was in our kit, and we're going to wrap it around the back side. And we're going to tie a bow off to the left. Or should we tie a knot? No, we tie a bow. Tie a bow off to the left here. This is actually jute cord, and it's nice because it holds its shape. I didn't want to go white because I thought the white would kind of drown out. So this is like an ivory area. And you want to keep that bow a little bit on the bigger side because this way we have our snowflakes we're going to add. We'll just trim the tails of our twine. Maybe a little bit more. Wonderful. Kind of lower it just a bit. Or raise it a little bit. There we go. Okay, we're going to take our snowflake, the prettier one, using one of our glue dots. I went ahead and put my camera stopped, sorry guys. I went ahead and put a glue dot behind my snowflake, the better snowflake. The glue dot you can see that is bigger than the center, but don't worry about that because we're going to add our wooden snowflake to the center of our iridescent snowflake. Just put a glue dot behind our wooden one. And then this is going to go in the center here. Lovely. We have this strip we're going to add to the very bottom, just below our sentiment. So let's do that right now. I'm going to use my glue and just add a thin bead at the very bottom. There is an arch there, so you may have to trim it. Maybe not. I don't think you will. Just add your stripe paper at the very bottom and then flip it around and then trim it along that arch. I only had to trim one side, which was nice. Okay, we're going to flip this around. I'm going to add some adhesive. This is going to go on our card base. Let's make sure it opens up the right way. This is going to go in the center. And you can use the lines on your pattern paper as a guide. Tack that down. We have a small foam circle. We'll remove the release paper and add that behind our polar bear. We have an extra snowflake if you want to put it back in your embellishment bag. And then we're going to tack our polar bear off to the side here. Tack that down. And then that finishes our second project, our lesson number 2 of the Frosty Fun Classroom. Super cute little card, and it's really not too bulky. Let's put it in our envelope here. I like to store my card base with my envelope, and then we can put this in our clear bag. I didn't do that with card number 1. That was a long video. It will fit right in there, like so. And then when you are ready to mail, you have a nice pretty handmade shaker card ready to go. I will see you next Friday. Let me check my schedule. Next Friday will be December 16th. Oh, it's the week before Christmas. I hope you guys have all your holiday shopping almost done. For most part, I did really good. I think I'm pretty much completed. But December 16th, Friday, will be the Friday before Christmas, will be our next classroom. I will see you then. We are going to make a fun card. We're going to make a snowflake card. So thanks so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day.